And welcome to Everyday Economics, a podcast that helps you learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, president of 501c3 nonprofit Franklin News Foundation. Everyday Economics is a production of America's Talking Network. You can check out all of our great podcasts at americastalking.com. To support Everyday Economics and podcasts such as this one, please make your tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show description. We are recording this episode on Monday, February 13th, and joining me, as always, is my friend, my colleague, Dr. Orphe Divounguy, PhD economist. Dr. O, I always love to see headlines like this. And so this is from LinkedIn.
Wall Street Journal actually also reported this.
Yeah, no, it's your story. It's your story, but LinkedIn is blowing this up.
They are.
So economists see Upturn as a possibility. I have to be honest, as if I'm lying the rest of the time when people say things like that, right? I have not been an optimist about this economy.
An upturn.
Yeah. I've not been an optimist specifically about an upturn, because my feeling is, through the economic crises that I've lived through, is that bad economic decisions have wrought destruction behind them. And it takes a while to get up and out. The pandemic's been a little bit different. You and I have talked about how different it's been. People still having money in this economy. Of course, that seems to be kind of going away. But there is an idea posited here that demand, in particular for things like cars and houses, could be pointing toward the idea that this isn't a soft landing or a hard landing, but no landing. So help me to understand what that's all about.
For sure. I mean, you have to understand that with inflation decelerating and wage growth still pretty rapid, especially for those in the services sector, you're going to have an increase in purchasing power. Right? You have a strong labor market. You have nominal wages growing very rapidly. And then you have inflation coming down. And so you could get consumers to have a little extra. And that little extra is the worry. It worries a lot of people that demand could pick up again. And when demand increasing again could actually bring inflation price pressures up. And that would be very worrying for the Fed. You also have the fact that financial conditions loosened considerably in the last quarter of 2022. And so that, a little space could cause demand to increase and inflation to rear its ugly head again, like the kind of inflation we really don't like, at like 7, 8, 9%. And so I think that's the fear, but I just don't see it. I don't see it because when you look at the numbers that we've had in the last quarter, what we saw is consumer spending coming down. We saw purchasing power improving, and yet the savings rates increased, meaning people had gotten that extra purchasing power, but instead of spending it, they started to kind of change their behavior. We talked about the decline of the nice to have economy. We're seeing these factors where people are like, okay, this future is uncertain. If I can, I might as well kind of keep it, save it for a rainy day. We're starting to see that change occurring. And I think that's why this idea that demand could surge up again really, really rapidly and inflation could tick up, just don't see it. I don't see it happening. You also have to understand that low-income families are burning through their savings rapidly, and high-income families have a lower propensity to consume. All right. So the people that still have somewhat, that can still withstand the price increases and the increase in credit card debt, that might still be comfortable in this environment, are save a higher share of their income than people at the lower end who are kind of squeezed and can't do very much anymore because prices are squeezing them. So no, I think demand is coming down. I think with that decline in demand, inflation will also come down. And so I just don't buy that story of an economy or demand accelerating and inflation coming back up. I just don't buy it.
So from the Wall Street Journal story that's kind of put this all into play, which was written by Nick Timiraos, and forgive me, Nick, if I'm absolutely butchering your last name. What he's drawn in his story, and I'm pointing specifically to the third paragraph, and this is a quote: "A no landing scenario is a present day reality." And that was Neil Dutta, an economist at Renaissance Macro, saying that. While many Fed officials say that they still expect the economy to slow this year, Mr. Dutta said he sees, quote, "a huge reluctance to admit the obvious, which is that the economy is reaccelerating comma, full stop.
I respect and love Neil's work. I think even wage growth at the bottom is coming down. So wage growth is coming down. It's not coming down as fast as we want it to, but it's coming down. This idea that cars increasing, spending increasing, right? I mean, it's the people who can't afford this stuff that are doing it. If half of Americans earning $100,000 or more are living paycheck to paycheck, I promise you, I don't think they're going to buy cars. They just can't afford them right now, you know?
But if you need one, you have to buy one.
Of course. But, you know, I just don't see. And also, let's be clear about something. A no lending scenario is not even a scenario. The idea that the Fed would let demand reaccelerate and inflation tick up again is absolutely rubbish. I mean, I think the Fed, and if you listen to Fed officials, they're going to try to bring that down. And they made it clear they will bring that down. And so, in fact, I think what people call a no lending scenario only raises the probability, the likelihood that we'll end up with a hard landing. Because what it means is the Fed will probably have to hit the brakes even harder. And if they do that, I think the probability of recession increases. So if anything, what people refer to here as a no lending scenario is essentially a hard landing waiting to happen.
And we're going to call it good right there. For Orphe Divounguy, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics and dozens of other quality podcasts at americastalking.com.